And we're live.
So
Yep, this much is mine.
you've been smoking a lot of pot.
I would actually say at times over the past few years, probably too much. But
Oh, okay.
yes, since the last time I've seen you, I've smoked probably pounds of weed and only regret like a couple of those ounces. Most of the pounds are okay.
That's a great ratio.
Right.
Wow.
It's a pretty
So
solid
what?
ratio so
I
far.
remember. I don't know all the details, but your channel was exploding last time we had you on. Like you were getting tons of views and all this stuff. And then I
Right.
went and checked it today. After a while back, I heard something like you got taken down. But I always assume when like someone pretty big gets taken down, they remedy that.
Right.
But you had to totally restart, right?
Yeah, so it's been like a back and forth thing. And probably about 8 months ago or so, like all the weed channels basically just got wiped out. And
Mhm.
I didn't quite hit 500,000. I was at like 498,000. And then YouTube just kind of blue balled me on the 500,000 and deleted. I was actually one of the last channels to get deleted. And it almost seemed like they were mostly keeping like the educational ones around until they wiped mine and then just never reinstated it. Whereas basically all the other channels have been reinstated except for like a couple of specific few. And like it would make sense if they gave us any kind of guidelines or like reasons as to why they did so,
Mhm.
but they just kind of like did it and then swept it under the
It's-
rug and never talked about it.
They're doing it to be more advertiser friendly, right?
100%.
They don't. There's some company that was like, "Hey, why are you advertising my diapers on this
Right.
Stoner's
Of this
channel?"
pot guy.
Yeah,
and that would make the most sense, especially if they didn't reinstate all of the channels that were reinstated, and a lot of the bigger channels still remained advertisable and actually still do remain advertisable and advertised on. And from YouTube's like business side, it honestly would make the most sense if they just made some kind of 18 plus revenue stream and then actually profited off, our kinds of channels, as we already mark them as 18 plus. Like that's already a requirement. So
And you're
do you have a network to like help you with stuff like this? No, you would just solo.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never really went the network route. I honestly I went my own website route, especially going forward. Like put all my old stuff on the website because I've always been like really A type with content. So like that was all on backup drives and stuff. So I just like threw it on Vimeo, put it on my backup site, and then continued forward on YouTube. Probably
Networks
about
are
3
less
months
and less
ago.
helpful, just FYI. Like
100%. They just
Dude.
want to take 20% and
years
not really
ago,
help you with
networks
anything.
were magic. Like you couldn't do anything, and if you did, they'd fix it by the next day. Now they're like worse than YouTube. They're like, Woody, we looked and found problems that YouTube didn't. We're fucking with you, taking down your stuff. And
See, that's how networks worked when you were the big guy. The way networks worked for me, a little guy, was like every 3 months a message like, "Hey, I've now got 7 videos in my Dropbox, and did you forget about me? Am I not?" Like, and then
Get a
nothing
message
was
tied
up.
in a pigeon or something.
Yeah, basically.
yeah,
it
Well, that
depends.
sucks,
I had a
man.
lot of great experiences with networks. That helping me out, and
but like
Well, yeah, but my point was that like the huge guys get that really good benefit because you're a premium customer. And it makes sense. You're a higher priority.
But some of those things are gone. Like the concept of managed channel, those protected channels, is gone now. So I still have people that like I guess go to bat for me with Google, but I haven't seen a big success ratio on that. So it is.
And that's another weird thing is like I had contacts like at YouTube that like all up until basically the point where they like deleted my channel were like in pretty constant contact with me. And then all of a sudden, like it just dead air as soon as all this happened. So I was like, I honestly waited a little bit to kind of see, as it's against like YouTube guidelines to make new channels. So I like waited a little bit to see if they would reinstate it. And after like 5 months of just being ghosted, I was like, this is Tinder dates times 1,000. This is my career. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make a new channel. Fuck it.
How's that working? Did your people come back? How you doing?
So it's been like I'm at like 30,000 right now, like 31,000 or so. But realistically, I look at it as like my 500,000 was kind of a dead audience in some ways. Like I was probably only keeping between 10 and 25,000 consistent viewers throughout, every video. So
It makes sense that
having
stoners would
30,000
subscribe and forget.
right, literally. Just be like, oh shit, occasionally come across the video or stumble across the video high that they click on. But now I have like about the same numbers, like 10,000 consistent viewers on like good content and then like 5,000 on my normal. So it's slowly growing back again. But
Yeah.
it's
You
also
work,
nice to like start on a new foot.
you
Do
work,
you
do you work pretty closely with like individual, like marijuana. I don't even know what
Companies, yeah.
paraphernalia is the bad word. Is that what you call it in a store? Like, I need to buy some marijuana paraphernalia.
Some paraphernalias. No, yeah, so I work with a lot of vaporizer companies, honestly.
Okay.
That's like my bread and butter. And then nowadays, I try to work with the CBD companies that aren't just snake oil salesmen, that aren't selling you like, hey, we have a CBD bath bomb that you can get super not stoned with.
So Josh, we were talking about your channel, and I don't. Do you get demonetized? Are you able to successfully make pot-based videos on YouTube? How does that work?
So I'm pretty much entirely demonetized at this point, and honestly, like I made for probably like 2 years good monetization money, but have kind of like structured all of this around not making money from YouTube itself. As like I'm pretty conscious of the reality that I'm smoking pot on YouTube for a living, and that's something that like advertisers obviously don't love, and YouTube themselves doesn't have to allow me to do. Like I feel like a lot of people in this position doing like the new weed content have this like really like overwhelming thought that they deserve to be doing what they're doing. Like they're gonna be able to do it forever, and like it's gonna be consistent. But from the beginning, like back in 2014, in like the stupidest stoner way, like it was a protest, and like I was like, smoking weed on YouTube. Like fuck it, like I'm doing drugs on the internet. Like this is obviously not something that most people are going to be okay with. So when I started making money off it, it was more of like, wait, do they know that I'm doing this? Like, holy shit, like I shouldn't be allowed to do this. So I shifted to mostly like working with, like we were saying earlier, like working with the companies, doing R&D for companies, trying to upgrade like my photography skills to like sell that as a skill and like sell the back end stuff to make like product shots and stuff. And then just working with companies to do like releases and stuff. And a lot of my money today comes from like affiliate sales on vaporizers, just like the tech channels do.
How about Patreon? Is there a business model there? No.
Kind of. I'm working on it right now. Just because I think I could like do a small daily session, like a 5-minute session or something for the Patreon viewers, and a couple of different like rewards and stuff. So that's something that like I'm especially now kind of shifting into, getting back into like consistent content. But going back to like over smoking these past few years, I had like a 6-month period there where like I just had motivation to create anything. And I feel like a lot of YouTubers have that like period of like, I'm unmotivated, but like smoking excessive amounts of weed, I don't think added to that motivational factor at all. So I took like a small little break and am now actually getting back into basically daily creation, if not like twice daily creation. That's what I started with.
What kind of R&D are you doing? Like, will they send you a strain of weed, or they'll send you a type of vaporizer, and you'll be like, man, this is really good, or this strain kind of sucks compared to XYZ?
So realistically, I don't do a lot of like actual work with weed and products because Washington has terrible laws. And that's why I'm like looking over the next few years to maybe move down to Portland and kind of get involved in the Oregon market because it's less regulated. So it's like the Wild West. But up here, it's so regulated that you can't even give like a friend weed. Like you can't give someone weed. So the only way they would really be able to do stuff like that is like finding a way to mark down the sale to like $1 and then selling me a product for like $1. But most companies don't, since it's so much work for them and so much like paperwork and stuff, and like it's a huge process. They don't go and do it. So most of it's like vaporizer work where I'm just getting like a product and basically talking with the people in the community instead of just like being as straightforward as possible. Most of these companies are just China companies that are rebranding products and like sending them overseas. So I try to work with the companies, especially the American companies that are actually like trying to innovate at least a little bit and like not just rebrand the same products and sell them for a cheaper price or a better price. So like talking with people who use vaporizers, as like most people who use vaporizers hate them. They're like, these things don't work. They're not strong enough. Like there's a lot of issues with them, and no overseas company is really trying to address them. So I feel like a lot of the R&D is just trying to talk with people about what they want and then relaying that to companies.
Can you not just vaporize stronger stuff if they don't like it?
You can like get into like wax vaporization and stuff, but a lot of it's just like either wasting products, feeling like you're like you could just throw it in a bong and get way higher, or it's just like them. Actually, that's basically all what it remains in, because there's a really weird like stoner idea that bongs get you the highest just because it's a bong, but realistically you're smoking like carbon, you're inhaling a bunch of stuff that's not just weed when you smoke weed, and that affects the way that you're feeling. That affects like your head rush and everything. So if you just hit a vaporizer, like most people are like, I'm not getting high, because they're only feeling the THC and the cannabinoids, like for the first time, basically. So they're feeling like the pure actual cannabinoid high, and they're like, it's not strong enough
So they
because I'm not getting that
associate
head
the whole
rush.
thing with the bad stuff too.
Exactly.
Okay.